this week's episode of Chasing the Whimsy. I'm your host, Ben. And come over here real quick. It's not super late, but I waited.
It's super late.
It is super late. I waited until you were going to go to bed to start the show. And then as soon as I hit record, guess what you do? You come and take my co-host from me. You gonna say hi?
And I'm like playing.
Yeah.
At the park with my dad today. And it was so fun because there was a lot of big stuff there.
Like what?
And there was a big football slide and a red slide on the same one. I was separated on the same side.
And we took a train ride?
Yeah.
All right, you got your water? Good night.
Good night, Dad.
All right. Bye. Good night. All right. Yes. I'm your host, Ben, and we have co-host
Megan.
So it is spring break. Liam was like, he didn't say it was spring break, but 1 + 1 = spring break.
It's spring break.
Right.
My porter, actually 2 of my porters now are in college. It's spring break.
Yeah. So you are co-host. I think it's official now. Now,
special interim co-host.
Maybe. Okay. I don't know if you listened to last week's episode.
No, I like it because I think it's like makes me feel like I'm rising through the ranks. You know.
Yes.
Earning my stripes.
What is interesting is last week we brought it up, right? Because Liam won his spot for nationals.
Yes.
So we're like, all right, he's going to be wrestling. He's gone all of fucking June. So he's like, yeah, Megan. Now, I don't think you listened to it, and I don't know if Kelly told you, but Liam threw out the idea that I have to change the logo for, instead of the orange hat, red hat, that when it's a you and me episode, that it needs to have a me and you gnome.
Oh my god. That's way too complicated. But I appreciate it.
Which is, and it's like not the hardest thing in the world. I have some concept work already for like Kelly, and then you're a twin, so then we just have to change the hat, I guess. But if I was to, now that he's fully accepted your co-host status, I would assume that's what that means. What would you want your gnome to look like?
No, I'm sure next episode we're on together, we're gonna have to beef it out.
Right? So what would your gnome look like?
I'm not really good at that kind of thing. That's
like,
Kelly's thing, is designing characters and doing stuff.
Because part of the problem I'm running into, because Liam's asked about it before, he's like, how come there's no grandma gnome and like a JJ gnome? Like, because there's only so many things I could do with a beard and a hat.
True, and then also, does it have to be a gnome for every single person who's on the podcast? Like, does what, J Sarge gnome? Well,
there is a J Sarge gnome that Kit's doing. So, no, I don't. Ming Chen, he has. We have some Ming Chen art, so technically he's not a gnome, but I have a Ming Chen in a pocket.
Yeah.
So, and I had Cheese. I'll show you that when we're done. Cheese, I have him sitting on a Z block, and they were able to. Originally, it was him sitting on a Z block with a Nintendo controller, but then I was like, well, that's not what he does, and they were actually able to move the hands down a little bit, like he was rolling.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. So I don't know what I want to do yet with the logo, but I am looking into and considering working on something for you, which I think would be kind of fun. Because it's not impossible. When I upload it, I could change the
background.
Yeah. The label, the album label picture. So it would be like, so then I have to go back through and find like the 30 old man episodes, so I could just put the one solo gnome on it.
Oh
and
my
then
god.
But I like the idea that he was like, he brought it up. And then he's like, yeah, he's like, you should just change the logo. I'm like, all right. But then I was thinking, as a co-host, what's going to be different from you and him?
I'm not 14.
So his style, and I have over 103 episodes, have accepted his style, which is shoot from the hip and let dad do everything.
Right.
So he'll come up with a concept of an idea.
But he doesn't want the details.
Right. He's like, let's talk about this. And then he lets me sit on it for a minute. And then I have to kind of find some connecting tissue and then a segue into it. And then and develop his idea. So, and I'm okay with that. I like doing it because it's based off of his idea. Like the award show. He's like, don't know what it looks like. Don't know what we're gonna do.
But we should do an award show.
Right. So
you figure it out.
So you're not 14.
Behind the scenes, I feel like Kelly and I, like the Whimsy listeners don't get to see this, but are often with Ben going, so what do we do? What do we do? How would that even work? What would that even look like?
Like the big one right now we have to worry about is the birthday party. It's not even a podcast. It's just he wants to do a competitive outdoor game thing for the birthdays.
Which, great idea.
Right. But he's like, go. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like,
I love that Liam always wants us to do activities and be
100%.
outside as a family. Listeners, we live in the desert, and late April, it's hot.
Yes.
It's hot here. It's no longer just like warm and beautiful springy. It's scorching.
Right. Well, and he's all aggro, so he's like, whatever team I'm on, I'm going to win. I'm like, all right. Well, like, let's not do kickball again.
Honestly, we did win.
I know. I'm like, let's not do kickball. I'm like, let's find something. I'm like, could we do like a field day?
That's what we were thinking about.
Right.
Like those cool tiny games.
Yeah.
You're bringing water from like towels and stuff like that,
Right.
and try to get it around the course. And
Move water from bucket A with a sponge to bucket B.
Yeah.
Balloon tosses and a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, I like the one where you to like move them, you like soak somebody's shirt and then they're wringing it out and then running back and forth. So it's just people running, people wringing.
Oh shit!
That's so fun. And it would be not hot because we'd all be wet.
But then just came to me like Double Dare type games from like way back in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of activity and a lot of like ish mess. But a lot of some teamwork.
But there definitely have to be like a game master or something watching everybody. And I think it should be you, not because I think you'd be the best game master, but because I think you're most likely to cheat. So we have to take you out.
Yes, right. So Liam was like, I'm like, no kickball. He's like, fine, dodgeball. I'm like, we are not going to go to the park and watch everybody chase after balls.
Well, if we got one of those like closed courts,
but
they'd be a little bit easier because kickball was crazy.
I know, but I'm like, it would work if there was an enclosed space. But I'm like, but pickleball is one of the largest growing sports right now, and there's no way they're going to let us take over a pickleball court for half an hour.
I mean, can they stop us?
Well, maybe
not their court,
but we do have some ideas. We did throw around some tug of war. It's like the classic field day games.
It is a little hard though because then how are we really dividing the teams? Is it between kids and adults? Because I love JJ's spirit, but I can win against him in tug of war any day.
I asked Liam. I said, could two kids beat me in tug of war? He's like, absolutely. He's like, I could do it one-on-one. I'm like,
okay.
Calm down, aggro. So I'm like, all right. It's almost like one of those things like we get all the kids and then like, what is the even ratio? Like 5 kid to 3 adult? Or is it going to be like a 2 to 1 scenario? So we don't know yet.
I don't know about tug of war.
I just want to do tug of war. I'm doing tug of war.
But is everybody going to be involved? The grandma's going to be involved?
There's going to be a small power meeting next Sunday. I'm going to go to Nikki's. We're going to outline some ideas.
How about this?
Yes.
How about this? Better idea.
Okay.
For the tug of war part.
Okay.
Instead of having the whole teams and the grandmas getting possibly squished.
Right. Just the kids.
You pick 3 champions from your team.
There you go.
And then, you pick who you think your 3 best are, and you throw them on there, and all right, then you go.
The leaders, I want to work out a scoring system. You earn some points. We're looking at like 5 to 7 events. Nothing crazy, but we score them, and then the top 2 places get to pick 2 other people. So 3 on 3. And then we go from there. Maybe. I just want fucking tug of war. But we're looking at tug of war, Connect 4. We're going to get one of the big, 2x4 stands. So you got the big Connect 4s. So
we should do something like throwing bean bags at a Connect 4. So you only get that spot to go in that column if you get it there. Kind of like tic-tac-toe. We're going to throw balls.
We were going to do tic-tac-toe. My mom has one that she's super excited about. In theory, I brought it up because Sophie's really good at it. I think it would be fun, but I think we want to go giant Jenga.
Sophie loves Jenga.
I know. So we're going to go to my sister's. We're going to kind of rough draft individual point systems, and then how do we pair up if we have to do a team event? Because I like a couple of random team events, 3-legged race maybe, or like a relay would be really cool. I want to try to do a scavenger hunt. You pair them off, or everybody has a phone now.
Right.
I say pair off only because I don't want kids running off by themselves.
Yeah, no kids running off by themselves, and then also give them a little guidance sometimes, because they might just be like, oh, this means we have to go across the street. And you're like, no, it's in the park. Right.
Nikki and I talked about it. We're going to get QR code. So you'll each, we'll pair everybody off. There's 4 teams. Everybody gets an envelope, and you'll have a different clue. And it'll give you a clue that says something about a monkey, something, and you're like, oh, it's the monkey bars. And then on the monkey bars will be a QR code. You scan it, and it'll give you the next clue.
Yeah.
And then you get to do that, and then it ends up at the one place. So we're looking, I think we got a good, hour and a half worth of activity. And then we'll do presents, food, and then we'll just dip out, call it a day. But I want to make sure that there's enough games that Sophie can play, because she can play Connect 4. She'll throw down some Jenga.
Yeah, definitely that she can be included, because it really sucks if she had to sit basically aside for kickball.
Yes.
She's not very happy.
So we'll find ways to get her involved. So we're going to do that. So that's Liam's ideas is here's a great idea. Now you make it great, and I'll take credit for the idea. So as a co-host, something crazy happens. Liam bails on me last second. I don't know what to talk about. Could you come in clutch could you come up with a topic of an episode?
Maybe. That's a hard maybe.
Could you run an episode?
By myself?
You and me, but you're like, because I think historically, Liam I like Liam and I's dynamic, but it's typically always me-ish leading him into wherever he wants to go, and then he'll take over because it's discussed. I'll get you into the Backrooms dream story, and then you go from there. Could you be like, I'm going to go ahead and lead the whole episode?
I mean, I don't want to be overly confident, but I think I could probably do it.
All right. And it seems easy. I was a little anal, especially in the beginning. But I'm good at working through it in real time in a little bit just before we start, so I have a general idea of where I'm at. I got some cards on the table so I don't forget. I got my notes just in case I forget something. But yeah, so I'm like, all right, as a co-host, those are some of your responsibilities. You might have to come in and be like, I got enough for 20 minutes. I need you to come up with another 20 minutes of conversation.
Yeah, okay.
All right. I don't know when you're going to need it, if you ever need it.
Listen, if there's anything I can do in this life, it's talk. So even if I have to go off the cuff, it's probably doable. Interesting or diverting, maybe not, but doable, yes.
Yeah. So every once in a while I get asked the question, because I talk to people and I'm like, hey, I do a podcast, and I give them my card because I'm looking just to kind of spread the word a little bit. And they're like, well, what is the podcast about? How would you describe this podcast? Because it's not true crime. It's not sports. It's not...
I would say...
Like, what genre would you put it in?
Storytelling. Because I think that the thing that
there you go.
Kind of runs through everything is either we're talking to somebody and we're hearing what their story is, or we're telling our own stories and figuring out, like, not only where we came from, but where we're going.
Right, okay. I've been leaning toward... The one I've been giving out lately is me and my kids and family topic of the week type. So that way, they're like... Because they're always like, well, what do you guys talk about? I'm like...
Everything. So many things.
And they're like...
Because I talk about the podcast more, because they're like, well, what do you guys talk about? Like, video games? Or I'm like, dude, literally, tell me anything, we've talked about it. Because it's basically whatever we're thinking about that week.
Yeah, it's whatever, because I don't even come up with most episodes until I get Liam. And on the way here, I'm like, do you have anything you want to talk about? He's like, X. I'm like, all right, fine.
I think the only thing that we steer away from is religion and politics, because you get too in the weeds, honestly.
Right, and it's
not that we're against either or, but
it's not fun for it's definitely not. This is definitely not the platform for any of those two discussions, but it just doesn't seem really fun to me
to talk about. Yeah,
because you can't have a fun back and forth. It's a very it gets to a point 6 minutes in where it's like, you're wrong. No, fuck you. You're wrong.
Yeah, and it goes from hearing people talk about what they're passionate about to just everyone being angry.
Right.
And that's honestly, it's not the kind of podcast I would want to be on. Not that we don't have political or religious views, but
I love Trump, and then some people are like, "How can you love him?" And they're like, now it's an hour of me defending myself, and I'm like, "Oh, that's not what I'm looking for."
Right, and I feel like there's so much division in the world right now, and okay, I'm not gonna get too deep into it because I will go I'll go into it. I got craziness, but it's manufactured.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you took, this politician and that politician's name out of it, you threw two different people from two different parties together, and you said, here, check these boxes on what you're interested in or what you believe. And I bet you for 90% of people, 90% of the stuff is the same stuff you believe in. I don't believe that all people who are Republicans think you shouldn't get abortions.
Right.
I don't think that everybody who's a Democrat thinks that everything should be communism. But there's kind of a climate now where we want everybody to think the other side is a bunch of cuckoo bananas. And
extreme left, extreme right.
Right, everybody's part of the extreme left or extreme right. If you're a Democrat, you're crazy, flower picker. Right. If you're a Republican, you want everyone to shoot each other.
Right.
It's crazy, and none of that's true, and I don't know really who it serves, other than, the people in power currently. But when you get into politics, it's two straw mans fighting against each other, and that's, I don't know, it just gets...
Plus, there's already so much of that everywhere you look.
Everywhere.
Whimsy is your hour of like, let's find something other than what everybody else is talking about.
Yeah, let's literally talk about, this guy who found a new way to get to the highest level in Tetris.
Right.
So cool.
So I pride myself on that we stay away from, I agree that they're important topics and that I should know more about the politics, but at the same time, it's not my place to be this isn't the platform in which I'm like, you guys need to go my side. No, I want to tell you about cheese. I want to tell you about this lady who made a cookbook based off of some movies that she watched with her kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's some entertaining stuff for me.
And those are the real people who are out there.
Yeah.
Those are real people. Then they all have their own like ideas and beliefs and stuff like that,
right.
But they're just people. And I like exploring people and I love hearing people's stories.
Right.
And
not someone's agenda.
Yeah. The more nuanced it gets, the better it is.
Yeah. So, all right. Storytelling topic of the week. All right. I like both of those. Because I always worry, because every once in a while, it's hard to, like, explain what we do without over-explaining it. Because, like, I feel like...
yeah, but I have the same thing with you. People always ask what the podcast is about, and I go, we just talk about stuff, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, it's me hanging out with some kids, whatever we want to talk about. There's no specific...
He means with a Z.
Yeah.
That sounded odd out of context.
But, yeah, so whatever we want to talk about, that's interesting to him and a lot of storytelling. And so...
well, especially when you get into the with a Z kids, because it's strange listening to them and then being like, wow, there's all this stuff that I never worried about when I was a kid.
Oh, my God.
And, like, texting and Snapchat and sending nudes to people and like crazy stuff, and then you're also like, oh, they're also dealing with the same crap that I dealt with in high school and junior high and everything like that, because it's all the same eventually.
Yeah. Bullying is like there's always been bullying. Like, you can never stop that, but it's just evolved into a different way that is different, and it doesn't make sense to me. And when I do hear stories about it, I'm like, that's wicked crazy. Like, and then like how, like, you can anonymously say something to somebody and destroy their day.
Totally. You can destroy their day, destroy their year.
Yeah. And it's like...
and you walk away and nobody even knew it was you.
But when we were kids, someone leaves a note in my locker, I'm like, oh, what... Like, somewhere it's weird where we took it and we're like...
Or if you wanted to put up, like, flyers that were like, this person's a butt face, you run the risk that somebody's going to see you putting that up, and then they're going to know that it was you. Now you could just put somebody's a butt face on Twitter under any kind of, like, fake account, and then delete the account. Who cares?
It was funny because I remember, like, the first couple months of the Whimsy with the Z, because a lot of them kept bringing up bullying. I'm like, I 100% understand, get bullying. I said, you'll never get rid of bullying. I said, give me your lunch money, punch you in the face. I can stand behind physical bullying. Like, I understand. Like, I can understand where that comes from. It's the cyber stuff that freaks me out. I'm like, well, that's fucking wicked, crazy, weird.
But I think it's the same. I think if you did one of those things where you like Biff Tannen, and you gave them the ability back then, the punchers and the money takers, they would probably use that to ruin people too. They just didn't have the chance.
So
like psychologically, I think people who are doing that are either going through the same things or they're just bad people. I don't know. I hate to think of like a kid as a bad person, period, because they're still learning and growing or whatever, but somebody's got to be bad from like basically birth, right?
That's weird. And we recently had somebody possibly drop out. And what's weird is we've all had fun sharing experiences and stuff. And then I'm at a place where I'm like, I'm in this awkward position of like, there was a breakup. And that's about all I'm going to say. Like, it's none of anybody else's business, but there was a breakup, and it has affected their contribution to Whimsy with a Z. So I'm like, oh. But then at the same time, I'm like, makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, totally.
I extend the invitation that says you always have a place here. You will always be Whimsy Z.
But honestly, at the end of the day, you do you for your own mental health. Yeah. Peace of mind. Like, if you don't want to deal with toxic people in your life, just don't.
Well, and then if anybody who's ever been through a breakup, which we all have, it sucks for the first little while, and then eventually things will calm down and you'll move on.
It's very, very, like, intense and hostile at first, especially when you're a little, like, high school kid. Not to,
but it's
minimize anything that they're saying or anything that's happening to them, but your feelings back then are so strong, and so definitive.
Because you don't know how to process any of that.
This person ruined my life.
I dropped the L word.
Your life. You're 15, and I know it hurts right now, but your life is ahead of you. Right? It's almost like 100% ahead of you. You're good, man. You're not going to be sitting there even when you're 20,
right?
And be thinking about some loser who broke your heart. Not that.
Like,
either person is a loser. It's just
like I don't sit here today, look back and be like, man, and we had it, and I'm like, no, I barely remembered her name Wendy. But yeah, it's interesting. So because like it's 14, 15, like you don't know any better. You watch TV and Instagram, and you're following all the other idiots out there. You drop the L word and then you break up and you're like, oh my god, everything's over, and you're like, no, it's not. I promise it's not over.
It's not over. It's gonna really sting for a while, and you need time to regather and everything like that, but literally just move on.
So we'll see. We'll keep it, we'll bring them on if they ever want to come back, and only approach subjects that they want. And that's what we've always been pretty good about, that is keeping subjects on whatever they want.
Yeah, and like obviously they wouldn't have to talk about their...
Yeah. Oh, tell me why you broke up. Who said what when?
Yeah. This is not like a high school gossip channel, but it is interesting to hear this perspective of what a breakup feels like. Because I think that if anybody was listening, like younger kids, like slightly younger, same age, or around the same age, it might be interesting for them to hear somebody else talk about what breaking up feels like. Because I feel like in front of your friends and stuff, you have to be like, no, F him, I don't even care about him.
Oh yeah, I did it. She didn't break up with me.
Yeah. And there's so much lying to yourself and your friends to make yourself seem cool, and like you're already over it.
Because Danielle is, I keep losing track of it. I think she's 12 going on 13. And one of the things early on she wanted to know was like, I'm like, are you interested in boys yet? And she's like, absolutely not. I'm like, give it a second.
No, perfect. Give it many seconds.
And I'm like, are you? She's like, no, anime boys for days. And she's like, I have no interest in anything else. But she's like,
honestly, when I was 12, same.
Yeah.
Who cares?
But then she was like, but I do want to know what those things look like, because I'm going to be getting to that point in the next year or two. So we're like, all right. So it is interesting to see how all the kids are kind of turning out a little bit. Alice is considering joining the National Guard. Recruiter got her, gave her the sales pitch, and she's like, what is it? 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks, like a full 2 weeks out of the year. She's like, basic training. You don't have to commit 3 years, and then you get all of the military benefits. She's like, fuck, I'm like, all right. And I'm like, absolutely.
Oh, sure.
If they're going to pay for your school, do it.
Although I do feel like, and those kids are probably too young to remember this, a lot of people in the National Guard got a really rude awakening, like, around 2001?
Yeah.
And some of them were called to actually serve, and they were like, wait, I just came here to do a couple weekends a year. Right. I didn't come here to ship out or go anywhere.
So
that is something you have to keep in mind, that it's not just a fun weekend club. You might end up...
Right, because the reality is, and what you don't get when you're 17 talking to the recruiter, and the recruiter is going to conveniently not tell you, is that the United States government is putting is investing a grip of money into you as a person, and that if something goes bad,
you're on the bench right now.
Yeah.
You're on the bench. But that means at any point, if somebody in the game falls out, you're in the game.
Or we change games and we need more players. So, but it's interesting that she's at least thinking that far.
No, and I think it's great, and as long as you have that in mind, and because, obviously people go into the military and they want to actively risk their lives, and that's beautiful, to want to, protect your country, your family, just, that is, very honorable, but just make sure when you go into the National Guard, you're not thinking that that's not going to be you.
It's the easy 3 months or 3 years and you're out.
Right. It probably will be, but maybe.
Read all the fine print. Ask the question. My thing is, with any kid, even adults, because I hear a lot of gossip and stuff from work and stuff. And a lot of the things, the first thing I ask is, did you confirm or did you ask anybody about this rumor that you heard? And they're like, no. I'm like, then don't believe anything that you hear. I'm like, ask questions.
That's completely true. It's I love gossip as much as the next person, but the first thing I do when I hear gossip is what's your source?
Right.
Who told you?
I need double confirmation.
Was that person there? Did that person see that?
Right.
Did that person hear that?
Because, my favorite one is every year, it always happens. Somebody walks by and was like, do you hear we're not getting bonuses? And I'm like, you are the worst person I've ever met in my life. And it says, quit saying that. I'm like, or we're not getting raises this year. I said, quit saying that. There's not one thing that happened this year that would ever suggest that work isn't doing good enough that you're not going to get a raise at the end of the year.
Well, and then if she was like, I was by the boardroom and they left the door open, they're like, listen, raises are not in the budget this year. And you're like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
And you run away and you heard that from people who actually contribute to that or understand that or given that directive from somebody who is, higher in the company. That's good intel. Right.
But at the same time, most of the time, anytime anybody says that is October, November. And I'm like, they don't pull the trigger on that decision
in March.
If you're going to cut off raises and bonuses, you mention it mid-year. You're like, hey, some things happened. The market's not doing good. There was a flood, or we had to outsource. Shipping and receiving is not doing, the airline company went out of business. Mid-year, you announce it. So then you can, but you don't do it 6 weeks before the end of the year. I promise you they don't do that.
Yeah, they don't make a sudden
Now, the only
decision.
exception, again, would be 9/11. 9/11 was probably one of the only years in recent time that I know of in which you didn't get your full raise because the market, everything
everything was on pause.
Yes,
because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right, that is understandable.
Because that's a crazy thing for the entire country.
Right.
So yeah, maybe shipping and receiving might also feel that.
Right. So I hate fake news or rumors. I'm always a big I'm always a ask. Quit making it up or quit repeating what you heard. Ask somebody. That's all I ask.
Yeah, ask somebody, or you better have been there and heard that from somebody.
Right.
Who means something. Because if you heard from another secretary or something like that.
Steve told me that Janet overheard Susan talking to Bill about what?
Yeah. It's the degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
It's the degrees of any kind of rumor. Once it gets past two people, you're going to have to find the original source.
Yeah. So we'll see. But what is he with the Z? Overall, doing pretty good. We're gonna run up through the end of the year. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna call season 2, bring most of them back. So it is interesting. In hindsight, I'm glad that I picked 5 kids because just one or two. Yeah. Because
well, if you wanted one kid, you just watch Liam as he moves
well, no,
from
because the
place to
problem is
place.
Liam did one episode and bailed out on me. He has a whimsy with the Z.
And I think it's also too close for you. It's like, Sophie's growing every day, but we don't see it because we see her every day.
But I would like to know that, like, and I get where Liam's like, I don't want to talk about that. Fine, that's cool. But part of it's like, you don't want to tell me, but like, there are other kids that are curious on girlfriend, first dances. Like, he's doing, he was class president or something. I'm like, those are like you got to take yourself out of CTW proper and put yourself into kid representing kids, telling and helping kids type thing. And so, but he got busy and he was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm like, all right, that's fine. But yeah, I'm glad I started with 5 or 6 technically, because you do get breakups. People do kind of just fizzle out.
Yeah, people can fall into the equation. They come back.
I could have been 8 episodes in and been done. So, it's interesting. It's fun. We're just trying to Season 2 will be better because we'll have a couple of repeats, and I think we've learned a lot as far as like different topics and trying to organize things a little bit more each week and getting more and they're giving more feedback now than they did in the very beginning. So
yeah, and I think the kids have grown more comfortable, and you've grown more comfortable, like figuring out.
Dean and Danielle both said that I'm going to do an episode at the end, wrap everything up. My experiences from the podcast side, from the dad side to right. There was a moment. So Dean, I do the video chats with him, so I get to see him. Dean, for example, like the first 2 or 3 episodes, always slumped down in his chair, lights are off, and he was just kind of like real basic answers. Never really elaborated on anything. But then that 4th month, and even now, he's I can see a physically noticeable change in the way that he presents himself.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And I'm like, it's cool that, it took me a minute to kind of acknowledge it. And I tried not to freak out on him. Be like, you're doing it. I don't want to make him all self-conscious about it. But even on episode 100, he sent in a kind of a thank you, congrats. He's like, yeah, he's like, I like it. I feel better. He's like, I'm starting to be more comfortable talking to people and kind of putting myself out there. He's considering going back to physical school instead of online school. But it's interesting to kind of see all the kids kind of grow a little bit.
Yeah, so. And I feel like that's definitely the case, especially with kids, because when you put Sophie into some situation where she's not familiar with anything, she's very hi. She's always whispering and stuff like that. And then as soon as she starts getting more comfortable, she's talking more and more. And then soon, as this person who's been a stranger to her, she's like, here, look at this. Do you see my turtle? Have you seen my turtle? His name is Sam. His name is Sam because we found him in the ocean, and he said that his name was Sam. But that's why his name was Sam, but we found him in the ocean. That's where we found him. And you're just like, there she is. That's our Sophie.
The funniest thing today, we go to the park, we go to my mom's, say hi. Normally, it's a couple hugs, and she just runs off and does whatever. She goes and talks to Kari, I swear to you, for 45 minutes. And I'm outside talking to my mom. I'm like, Sophie doesn't talk to me for that long. I'm like, what the hell is she talking to Kari about? I'm like, fascinated. She was in there for I have no idea what they were talking. Like, it's the funniest thing where I'm like, there's three of us, and she could be talking and bouncing back and forth, but she's like, no, I'm gonna hang out with Kari.
I think it's also because Kari is like kind of like a hang back person. Not that it's bad to be friendly, but a lot of times when you're really friendly with kids, they feel like you're not attacking them, but you're very like forward towards them, and they shrink back. But Kari's just like very chill and just.
She's like, I dig your vibes.
He's gonna let her come to him, and she's like, wait a second, this person's not even trying to say hi to me. It's like a cat, you know what I mean? Right. Like you would ignore the cat, and the cat comes.
He's off. He's not inside by himself, and she's like, I like that. You don't have to.
I like this guy. He's all by himself.
But yeah, she's just totally like that, where she's just like...
He probably heard so much about Elsa. He probably knows the plots to every single Frozen movie and side movie. And
he found out that she likes movies with robots. This stuff is awesome. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I don't know if I asked this last week. Have you ever considered if you had to do your own podcast? Like, we're going to go podcast network. We're actually making some money now. And I'm like, hey, I need you to create your own podcast. What would you do it on?
I don't know. I don't really... I try to think about, because, you know, Kelly and I are in adult age. But we've never really spent more than 2 weeks away from each other. And we still have not stopped having things to talk about. We talk pretty much the whole time we're together every day. It's probably where Sophie gets it from. Right. I don't really know what we talk about.
like one could almost... Like, okay, ready? Here's your guys' podcast, ready? Flyer on the wall. It's just you two talking. You don't address an audience or the microphone or a podcast, and we're just like a fly on the wall just listening to what you two talk about all day.
Well, then you just be bored, because half the time it's me going, yeah, and then in Borderlands 2 you had this dynamic, and then in Borderlands the pre-sequel you had this dynamic, and then in 3 you had this one, but it was better in 2, but better in 3, really? Because if you think about it, if you don't hold on so closely to how you feel about 2 as the best game in the series, this really actually did improve it. And you'd be like, oh my god, this girl does not have one single...
I don't know, man.
...thought in her head.
One... You're doing it because you like talking to your sister, and I need you to do a new podcast. So you're just like, fuck it, I'm doing it. But then what's also interesting is like, what happens if it blew up? Like, these two girls don't even acknowledge that we exist. Like, Ben has a Patreon for them, and they're making a grip of money. They don't even know.
They don't even know. He actually left those microphones in her house 2 weeks ago. He got 14 podcasts.
I mean, these are just the things that you need to think about as co-host. All right. I think as co-host, your input is now elevated in certain things of like merch.
Okay. Again.
Brilliant.
Big strength of Kelly's.
Yes.
Not mine.
I'm going to rectify I've not given Kelly the appropriate dues and respect for her position as merch manager. So next week it should be rectified. There will be an official offer made to her. But today when we went to the park, they had a little small craft fair.
Yeah, where Sophie got the turtle.
Okay. I'm an idiot. Why are we not doing more craft fairs? Like, just, like, once a month. Why are we not coming over here and then just going to a craft fair?
I mean, I would love to go to a craft fair. I don't remember if there was an invite to this craft fair, but...
Like, there might be a thing now where once a month we might go to a craft fair. So, there was like 12 different people selling stuff. Okay, so here's what we got, okay? I got a lady, okay? Some weird stuff. She had like rodent skeletons, and she arranges them in a way and or in resin, whatever, kind of give it that like southwestern lookish.
I could dig it. Okay.
But then she also does some crochet stuff. But then she did some stuff with resin. So she had snake skin, and then she cut it out into like a little diamond, and then resined it, and now it's a keychain. And I'm like, hey, I try to play with resin. I absolutely hate resin because I'm not patient enough
to deal with it.
So I'm like, do you do custom work? And she's like, yes. So I look at the keychain, and it's like $6. I'm like, could I give you a little wooden token, and could you put that in resin and attach a keychain to it? She's like, yeah. So I'm like, why have I not reached out to more local
craft people?
Yes. Like, it seems so simple. It seems like the easiest thing in the world. Okay, here's another one. You got this lady, Hooked with Love by Liz. That's the one she got the turtle from. She does some crochet stuff. She had a keychain looking thing with a gnome on it. And I was like, that's right up my alley. So I'm like, hey Liz, could you do custom work? Because these are all handmade.
Right.
Could you throw a CTW on the hat? And then instead of the legs dangling, can you just fucking attach put them in a pocket? She's like, yeah, I could probably do that. And so she's selling that sort of thing for like $7. I'm like, I don't even ask for cost. I'll pay the $7 if you're going to make them. I'm like, I got a Patreon. I need 15 of these things a month. Boom. She's going to call me and mock one up for me. But I'm like, I keep thinking of all these merch ideas, and I'm like, and I know, like how she sent me a bunch of stuff. So, like, I'm aware that these things exist, but I'm like, duh. What if there's a place I can go in which all these creative people are doing things?
Not only doing things, but basically begging you to order custom things, because they make them piece by piece.
I talked to my sister, my mom today. They had some ideas. Okay. When we go to the cons and stuff, boom, get a roll of logos, stickers, and stick them on a bunch of like hand sanitizers and fans and stuff. So like, you buy a bunch of tchotchkes for like in bulk, throw a sticker on it, and then now we have like things we can hand out at the con. I'm like, great, fantastic. Those are good for the con, but so I'm like, great, fantastic. So we might have hand sanitizer with like a little like it seems so easy, and I'm like, whatever. All right, then we got this other lady. I didn't get her card. She had fucking tumbler cups, custom. Like, I'm like, how much are those? She's like $12. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, let's work on the price a little bit. Could you throw a logo like a gnome on? She's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like,
easily.
Like, I've been stressing out after these blankets. I was like, my mom, I felt bad. And I know I shouldn't feel bad. And I think we've talked about this once before. We're doing blankets this month. So for whatever reason, I feel like next cycle needs to have a equal or better than a blanket. Like, I can't go be like, next cycle be like, here's 2 keychains. And be like, I could, and I need to be okay with that.
I think that
it's all in my head.
The 1-to-1 ratio, or the fact that it would have to be better each time. Like, what are you going to buy him a car?
Right.
After a couple years,
which suggested that I did it wrong. I should have started with the keychains and the koozies like the beginning of the year, like last year.
Or you could just not be as obsessed with.
I'm not anymore, because like
some of it, to a certain point, when you get like the items from Patreon, it's not because you're buying those items from you. It's you're showing appreciation for them. But if they go, this isn't even as good as the last month, so it's like, well, were you giving your money because you thought you were going to get like the coolest merch, or were you giving it
right? Well, because they're donating because they want to help out, not because of the
right. That's the thank you part.
So like, I have to get out of my head for that.
Like if you just gave them a little piece of paper or like a napkin that you doodled a gnome on, that would be kind of
Like, and then signed it. Yeah, I have to get in my head on that. Because, like, I have 6 years of telling Steve Dave Patreon stuff. And it's all in box. I don't use any of it. Some of the stuff is completely worthless. But it's actually, like, it's fun to, like, to see what they have. Like, some of the stuff they put together.
When you have to understand that they're working with a bigger...
So much better.
Input. So they can probably... But I'm sure at the beginning, when they started their Patreon journey, they weren't giving out, like, crazy stuff. They were just giving out...
bunch of stickers and a couple of patches.
Which is fine.
Which it is fine. And again, I had to get myself out of that. But yes, craft fairs, like, it is interesting for the Patreon aspect. Because, like, I only need 5 gift ideas, because we do the art book in July. So I just need 5 ideas. Like, I can just go and be like, I like what you make. Can you make me 20 of these things? You know, work out some kind of, like, sponsorship deal, and then, like, it seems like it was weird because I've been freaking out about it for, like, the last 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden we go to, like, the Spark, and all this fucking comes together. So
it would be really nice if you package them with, like, that person's card or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because then you'd be like, oh wow, I really like this gnome. Oh my god, it's so cute. Here's the card. They have similar stuff at this shop.
Right. Definitely working. Yes. So I think I'll make sure all their business cards are in there. And sometimes they, like, a lot of places, like, if you ever buy stickers, I buy from, like, USA Pro stickers out in New Jersey. He always sends me my stickers, but he always gives me a small stack of, like, his store. So obviously I can be like, oh, here, package it in, and, like, help promote some of his stuff too.
Yeah, spread the word.
Yeah. So it just seems, one, I like craft fairs. Like, I like looking at a bunch of stuff. Sophie likes looking at a bunch of stuff. One problem is you take Sophie and Liam, I'm going to spend $100 a week.
Or I've got a really, really great weapon for you.
Okay.
It's called Not Today. No,
okay, no,
you have no. Don't justify. Just Sophie.
Sophie's got that face, man, where it's like,
yeah, I know. I see it every day, and therefore I'm able to be like, not today. I'm sorry, but not today. We're just looking today. We're not buying anything today. But if you say we're not buying anything today, you also have to not buy anything yourself.
Right?
Because that's not really factual.
You're like, whoa, what kind of scam is this?
Well, my thing is like with Sophie, the most important thing for me is honesty.
Yeah.
Like, I don't try to trick her with anything, because I feel like she should be able to temper disappointment in herself and learn how to deal with those emotions naturally. Mm-hmm. So I'll never be like, oh yeah, maybe we'll go buy it when we get back, and I hope that she forgets about it.
Oh, because she won't.
Well, and even if she did, I would feel like that was just being, like, cheesy. Like, I'm the adult here. If I don't want to buy her anything, I'm going to be like, we're not going to get anything. Sorry. Like, I think that it's a little bit limp noodle for somebody who is an adult to be like, that way my kid doesn't bug me later. Like, yeah, well, teach your kids better.
I do. There's some stuff where I'm like, I just flat tell her, I'm like, no, we're not doing it. Liam, I've gotten way stricter on him.
Well, I mean, I'll tell her nicely. I'll be like, yeah, sorry, not today. I understand that you want that, but it's just not going to happen.
I do sometimes compromise with her. I'm like, we're not getting the gigantic one. But like when we went to Fan Fusion, you got the ducks. I'm like, yeah, I'll give the guy $2 for 12 ducks.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Easiest purchase ever.
Right.
You get so many ducks out of it.
Because, like, same thing with Liam. It's like, they just want the gratification of having something. They really honestly don't care what it is at the end of the day.
True. And the thing is although Sophie will kind of be like this a little bit sometimes, but they're not going, oh, I went to this place and we did this thing and I didn't even get a souvenir. They're going to remember, like, oh, I went to the aquarium, I went to the aquarium and at the shop I didn't get anything.
I have done something recently where, like, I'll buy the little ducks or, like, the little whatevers. And then I'll wait. Either I'll buy, if it's, like, either I'll buy me one or I'll let her play with it. And then when she forgets about it or she gets the new toy next week, I started building little time capsules. So, like, I have a box filled of everything from, like, last year that we did.
Yeah.
So I got some art in there, some drawings, and a bunch of little, almost nothings. But, like, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when we open it up, you're like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? I'm like, yeah, remember that? That's the rock that you picked up when we went to the aquarium.
See, I do like a kind of pro move sort of thing, and Kelly does this as well. If she'll get super interested in something, we'll be like, no, not today, honey. And then we'll immediately take a picture of it. We keep it in a little folder called Sophie Birthday or Sophie Christmas, depending on what time of the year it is.
Yeah.
And then on her birthday, she opened, oh my God, I love this. She forgot she ever even looked at it.
Right.
But she loves it as much as the first time she looked at it.
She's like, yeah, you loved it the first time, you're going to love it the first time again, the second time you see it.
Oh my God, a real ladybug. I don't even know, it's a yo-yo type thing. Yeah. It's.
I think we got the 2 cons this year.
About halfway through the year and then at the end of the year.
Yeah. But I definitely think there's a couple of moves I'm going to start making on the Patreon stuff. So, but I wouldn't mind going to like a craft fair every like once, like 4 times a year, and find a small. I don't even care what size it is. I just really like talking to those people, and we like talking to people who make stuff.
Yeah,
like with the Dilla Room recordings. Like, I would totally do that again.
I feel like people who are crafters, artists, writers, probably the most interesting people to talk to. And
it's weird because, like, we're all doing the same hustle of trying to get our art out. Mine just happens to be in audio. Yours actually looks cool.
Right. We're like, yeah, please contribute to our art. We need people to talk to us for this to work.
Tell me a fun story and give me a discount when I want to buy these in bulk for a bunch of stuff. But.
And honestly, obviously, because they're also part of a hustle where, like, you get 1,000 people walking, not necessarily at Tucson, but at bigger cons where you get 1,000 people walking by zombie-like and nobody's really interacting with you sort of thing. So I feel like when we talk to them, they're more than willing to talk to us.
Gosh. They love it when you sit and ask any questions. Like, they come out from behind the back and look, oh, Steve makes those. And Steve's like,
let me show you this and let me show you that. And if you go to our other booth over there, that's my wife. And they always have the most interesting stories, and they're so sweet and so nice to talk to us. Because I think my biggest fear at Tucson was that nobody would want to talk to us, and we would just be sitting in the courtyard podcasting, which obviously is fine and we can handle ourselves, but it was so much more fun to have other people.
And that I did invite a couple, but then the first lady who just ran me was like, what the hell are you guys doing? Let's do this. I'm like, there you go. And
there's definitely other people who are certainly curious about it, but afraid to. What we need is the sign. Just sit down. Come sit down.
I have signage. I'm working on some signage. We're going to have a blast. We're going to absolutely have a blast. It's going to be amazing. But I like the idea of, like, craft fairs are nice because it's locals helping locals. And it's just like, the idea of being like, hey, I will buy 15 today. And they're like, okay.
I will order 15 today.
And then it's like, and then I'll order like 15 more, 3 cycles from now. So, it was just weird. It all weirdly came together, and I saw it of like, oh yeah, like doing like I'm complicating things, like even not even just the crafter. It's like my mom and my sister are like, yeah, just fucking start slapping like your logo on shit, and I'm like, yeah, but like, was pulled in multiple directions, and then like for whatever reason today the clarity came to me, and I was like, oh, all right, go figure. So, but when I have any cool merch ideas, I'll let you guys know. I'll let you know. Give you. We'll have to get Kelly to set up some rules, like so you, me, Liam, Kelly. So we need like a 3 out of 4 vote or a 3 to 1 vote on whatever we want to make.
That's not how that works. Cause you can make a tie.
Okay, so we have to. So 3 people have to say yes.
Bribing each other. Come over to our side.
I mean, to be fair, the reality is like I'm paying for all this stuff, so whatever I want, I'm gonna get.
Don't ask us to vote then.
I'm not going to. I'll get your input to see if there's a. I'll definitely ask for input because my idea is good but super basic, and then you're like, well, why don't you guys? And like, someone always has like a better idea, and I'm like, well, fuck you guys.
It's like a modification. It's not like a different idea that's better. It's just a little change to help you.
I don't even care how we get there. Like, as long as we get there, I'm happy. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. All right, let me see if I have anything else on my notes real quick. How long we've been going? Fuck, I didn't plan to go an hour. I promise you I didn't.
It's fine.
No, that's all I had. I do have a random gauntlet question that Liam, I threw at Liam. Because I want to build the gauntlet questions more.
Right.
I'm going to try and print them on cards, make an actual game out of it, write up some rules and stuff, and like send those out. Like, play Whimsy Gauntlet. Would you want to know when you were going to die?
Today, me,
I was like,
my
hey,
age,
I know you're going to die on this day in this way. Would you want to know that?
Absolutely not.
No?
Are you kidding me? If I was like, Ben, you're going to be in a car crash on the way home, would you enjoy every bit of this podcast? Because, it's your last bit of podcasting before you get hit by a car. No, you'd just be sitting here just shaking and stuttering.
If that was today, but what if I'm like, hey.
But you don't know.
You're going to die 87.
So you're saying, like, if it's like a future date, not like tomorrow.
Yes. Like, whatever your natural death day will be.
So like a life expectancy thing, not like, somebody's going to stab me tomorrow.
No, yeah. That, like, like, the answer will be your natural end of, like, it could be 60, it could be 55, it could be 80.
No, I still wouldn't want to know. You'd be obsessed with it. You would never stop thinking about it. You wouldn't be able to enjoy yourself if you knew when you were going to die.
Right.
I mean, here's the thing, though. Is it when I'm going to die, though? Because think about it this way. Like,
this is a bad prank.
No.
You sell the house, you tell your boss to go F himself.
No, I'm thinking big picture here, okay? You told me I'm going to die at 87, right? So if I jump off a cliff, will I not die?
Oh, so now you're going to try, like
I'm just going to float up or something? Or I just, don't take any damage because you just told me when I was going to die and the truth can't be both things?
All right, I see where you're at.
Because once you understand something, you're changing the timeline.
Right.
It's like if you actually were going to time travel and you would come back and you wouldn't be the same you.
Right.
Because the timeline would be different. Well, it's very A Sound of Thunder, my least favorite short story ever.
I forget what Liam and I came up with. I was like, hell yeah, man, let's. Because he started with like, no, man, you'd worry too much. And I'm like, yeah, but if you know you're gonna die at 45, like you just live it up between now and 45, man. No care what anything you do, you just make all the bad decisions you want.
Except, no, you wouldn't. Because, think about this. Like, say you want to live it up. between now, like say it's 50.
Okay.
You die at 50.
Okay. I got 9 good years left.
You still have to have a job to afford living it up. You're still going to have to work, so most of your time's going to be spent affording to live it up, and therefore you're going to be stuck in job world.
I'm moving in with my mom.
Still need money. Unless your mom's rich.
She's not, but Mom, I love you, Mommy.
What's Mommy going to do? She ain't going to give you Coke money. No way. So you're going to need money. So you're not Elon Musk. You can't just live it up.
Alright, fair enough.
Never going to be fun. Nothing is fun. It's about, like, death and knowing when you're going to die.
Alright, fair enough.
But also, could I jump off cliffs? Because if I could jump off cliffs and stuff and not die...
That's how you make your money. You're just like, hey, everybody. Shoot me in the face. Ta-da!
Finally go on that cruise I never go on because I'm terrified of being in the middle of the ocean. What? I'm not going to die. I can't. Ew, but you spend all your 87 years entombed in the boat because you can't get out. Oh my god. Horrifying. But that's actually a thing, you know. They talk about if you're invincible, or not really invincible, but you just can't die.
Yeah.
Is that at some point you will become trapped somewhere. And you can't get out.
Whoa!
At some point you will become trapped somewhere you can't. You'll fall in a mine shaft.
Oh,
and there's no way to get out, and you're alive, but you can't get out.
So, like, 1,000 years from now, I can be like, just living it up, I'll be flying my car, and I fall in a hole.
Yeah.
And because we're flying in cars, they're not looking down.
Well, think about it this way. We don't have flying cars right now, and people fall into mine shafts, and we never see them again now. But if that person was invincible and they couldn't die...
And then you spend the remainder of forever existence in a hole.
Just chilling, I guess.
Hoping that...
Or going crazy.
Hoping that at some point something happens in which they find you, hopefully, thousands of years later.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. One more. We'll get out of here. You're weak. Invincible. You can't die. Do you start checking stuff off your bucket list? Like the cruise. Even though you're not going to die, you don't like cruises, but because you're like, well, I guess technically I know that I will not die. You still go on a cruise. For a week. You got a week.
If there's a way that I wouldn't end up trapped for life in a facility, I would hoe myself out to the government immediately and be like, listen, I can't die. Shoot me 1,000,000 times. I can't die. Now, please.
I have a unique set of skills.
Have me sneak into some, like, foreign territory and do something important for you. I can't die. I can't die.
Top assassin for a week.
Top assassin, shoot me into space. Have me fix stuff outside the space station or something.
Tie a rope to me. Throw me around somewhere.
But not space, though, because that's the ultimate. You're going to get trapped. Because you're just going to fly into the sun.
You're going to be floating off to somewhere.
You're going to fly into the sun, and you're going to be freaking screwed. And be like, why am I such an idiot? I'm such an idiot. Why would I ever have done this? But...
So Tom Hanks in Green Mile eventually falls in a hole? Wait. Did Tom Hanks...
He wasn't invincible. The prisoner healed him.
Right? He killed... Because he had the little mouse with him. Was the thing... I would have to watch it again. Could have sworn it was... He couldn't die, but he aged. He looked old.
No, okay. It was like he aged slower than everybody else, I thought. Because I thought he was still old.
Still old, but he watched everybody die.
Correct. So I think he's still dying, but just at a slower rate.
Kind of like, okay, so it's kind of like, it's like almost a curse of like, you're going to live as long as, until you're literally the last person. Like everybody you've loved. As soon as they die, then maybe we'll let you go. But we're going to wait until everybody dies.
I guess it's like if your normal life expectancy would be like
100.
80 years. Okay. He's going to live 110 years. So everybody who's even outside the outlier and make it to 99, also dead. And so they're just dropping like flies, and he's like, oh, I'm still going to make it to 110, so everybody I know is going to die.
we're going to talk about in a future episode. What do we do when we're 100? What is your...
What can you do when you're 100?
We're going to find out next sometime. Year 100 to 101. What does your life look like and what are you doing? Whimsy!